Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you the stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. Ukraine signs a letter of intent to buy up to 100 Rafale fighter jets from France as President Volodymyr Zelensky meets his French counterparts. South Korea proposes the first military talks with North Korea in 7 years. Seoul says the move can prevent accidental clashes and ease military tensions along the border. Germany announces lifting of curbs on arms exports to Israel starting November the 24th. The country had blocked selling weapons to Israel in August over fears of their use during the war in Gaza. In the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. revamps his cabinet after key resignations. This comes amid growing uproar over a massive corruption scandal involving flood control projects. And Emirates Airline orders 65 Boeing planes in a deal worth $38 billion, delivering a vote of confidence to the US manufacturer on day one of the Dubai Air Show. Today, we start in Bangladesh. The country's International Crimes Tribunal has given the death sentence to deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The 78-year-old has been found guilty of crimes against humanity over the crackdown on last year's student protests that led to her ouster. The court said that as Prime Minister, Hasina ordered those protesting against her to be killed, saying that police shot Dhaka University protesters at close range. In a statement, Sheikh Hasina has called the verdict biased and politically motivated. She called the tribunal that gave this judgment rigged and said it's led by an unelected government with no democratic mandate.
The verdicts announced against me have been made by a rigged tribunal, established and presided over by an unelected government with no democratic mandate. They are biased and politically motivated. In their distasteful call for the death penalty, they reveal the brazen and murderous intent of extremist figures within the interim government to remove Bangladesh's last elected prime minister and to nullify the Awami League as a political force.
Hasina's Awami League party has played a key role in Bangladesh's independence from Pakistan in the 1971 Liberation War. Now banned under interim leader Yunus, the Awami League reacted with defiance on social media. The party wrote in Bangla, saying millions of workers are ready for what comes next and that there will be war again. The verdict remains the highest stakes moment since Hasina's ouster last year, with the decision arriving just months before the first national polls since her fall. Prosecutors filed 5 charges against Hasina, including failure to stop killings during the final days of her rule, charges that Bangladesh classifies as crimes against humanity. Her co-accused include the former Interior Minister, deemed a fugitive, and a former police chief who was pleaded guilty and turned state witness. The court heard months of testimony alleging that Hasina permitted crackdowns against protesters last year. Her supporters say the trial is political retribution. All of this is unfolding against a backdrop of deepening instability. Violence has surged in Bangladesh in the run-up to this verdict, with crude bombs, petrol bombs detonated across Dhaka, targeting everything from buses and government-linked buildings to Christian sites. Security has now been tightened to its highest levels. Ahead of the verdict, armoured vehicles rolled into position around the court and checkpoints were set up across the capital. Dhaka police say almost half of the city's 34,000 officers have been deployed in the capital. Hasina, for her part, has also warned that continuing to ban her party, the Awami League, will only deepen the national crisis, especially ahead of the elections promised to be held in February next year. With a verdict now delivered and Sheikh Hasina given the death sentence, Bangladesh enters a new and uncertain phase. The ruling is expected to intensify tensions nationwide, with authorities bracing for potential unrest and political fallout. We'll now move on to some of the reactions coming in after the death sentence of the ousted Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Dhaka's close neighbour, New Delhi, has said that it has noted the verdict. The Indian government added that the country remains committed to the best interests of the people of Bangladesh and ensured that it will always engage constructively with all stakeholders. This, as the International Crimes Tribunal's verdict has created a political storm in Bangladesh. Her party, the Awami League, has said that her trial for the charges of crimes against humanity was politically motivated. The party condemned and rejected the alleged farcical verdict, adding that the citizens of Bangladesh will also not accept it. The Awami League called for a shutdown on November the 18th, vowing to struggle till the country's interim leader, Mohammed Yunus, steps down.
This is a politically motivated case and has been tried by an illegal tribunal conducted by anti-liberation forces. No words can aptly condemn this farcical, deceitful verdict. We reject it strongly.
However, the Yunus-led interim government has denied allegations that Hasina's trial was politically motivated. Instead, the government has lauded that the death sentences handed down to the former Prime Minister and former Home Minister mark a historic verdict. After Awami League's call for a shutdown, the Yunus administration has warned against unruly behaviour, provocation-driven actions, violence or unlawful activities. It has urged people to remain calm, restrained and responsible, and said that any attempt to create anarchy or disturb public peace would get a strict response. Amid the growing uproar over Hasina's trial and now the verdict, Bangladesh's interim leader Yunus instead chose to highlight the significance of promised elections in February 2026. He called the upcoming vote an election to save the country. Yunus said that the 2026 polls were to fulfill the aspirations of the 2024 uprising, which led to Hasina's ouster in August last year. He added that it will determine its course for the next century and must be one to survive as an independent nation. Meanwhile, the Bangladesh National Party, or BNP, which is now one of the largest political parties in the country after a ban on Awami League's activities, has also reacted to the verdict in Hasina's trial. The party said that justice has been delivered and added that it will work to ensure the rule of law in Bangladesh.
This verdict is a milestone. Although the punishment may not fully match the gravity of the crimes, it will serve as an example so that no future government or individual can become fascist, authoritarian, or dictatorial.
Ahead of the verdict, protests had already broken out in Dhaka. And now, with this sentencing, will the Yunus administration to be able to control law and order? Or will this mark another turning chapter in Bangladesh's political landscape? That remains to be seen. And for more on this, we have with us Nashir Uddin, a senior journalist joining us live from Dhaka. Thank you for joining us, Nashir.
Thank you.
Let's first look at what the significance of this verdict and death penalty is in the midst of political uncertainty and public unrest.
Well, there is a certain degree of significance of the verdict and the death penalty of Sheikh Hasina, especially in the middle of Bangladesh's ongoing political uncertainty and public interest. Especially when you do take the consideration of Sheikh Hasina's party, Awami League, into consideration, we see Awami League is a huge political party, and which is deeply rooted to the political history of Bangladesh. And the party is the one that led Bangladesh's liberation war. So taking all these into account, we can easily understand the population of the there is a huge population of the country which is still in favor of Awami League and their leader Sheikh Hasina, now who has been given death penalty in the first case of International Crimes Tribunal today. If we take a close look at the allies of Awami League, they are also not happy with this verdict as given today against Hasina and her cabinet colleague Kamal and her police chief Mamun. So if we think about the consequence, we need to look at the happenings over the last couple of days. Awami League already announced complete shutdown across the country for the last few days. They have tried to enforce countrywide complete shutdown. So apparently that has not impacted that much, but there is a voice being raised in favor of Hasina. We cannot deny this truth, considering the political landscape here in Bangladesh. If we now consider the case of public unrest is coming from that particular section of the people, not in people in general. Okay, so it will continue to lead further political uncertainty and public unrest, as a certain section of the political quarter fear.
Absolutely. And let's look at that uncertainty. Of course, elections announced for February next year. How do you think this ruling will impact those elections?
Well, this is, as the government says, as the Dr. Yunus-led government says, this will not impact the elections as scheduled in the February next year. It will not impact that much. But the allies of Awami League, they have continued raising their voice over the course of last few days, to be precise. They are calling for an inclusive election in February. If that election is to be inclusive, they mean by the word inclusive the participation of Awami League and their allies. That's pretty apparent and clear. The question is whether the government is going to allow Awami League and their allies in the election, who are accused of rigging previous 3 elections on the trot. Election in 2014, election in 2018, and the election in 2024, January 7 election last year. So, as of today, Awami League has been banned, not their allies are banned. So that is a case of further curiosity, whether government bans them. But there is no such talk circulating in the political quarter right now, or there is no further talk of this kind in the government machinery that the Awami League allies will also be banned following the ban of Awami League. Okay, so if their allies are going to participate in February elections, that is something to be seen, how Awami League sees the opportunity. Once again, I must not forget to mention one thing pretty clearly from Dhaka. That is, there is a sense of jubilation. There is a sense of joy. Sweets have been distributed. People have come out with procession with big smile on their face after hearing the verdict of the International Crimes Tribunal. There is a large section of people, they are doing so. And so altogether, I should say, election is something that is from government side. Yes, nobody can put a stop to the election. Nobody can nobody can stop the election as scheduled in February. Government is claiming that, and so is being uttered by now the large political platforms like BNP, Jamaat Islami, and other leading political parties in the country. They are saying, yes, election is a must in February. And Awami League's allies, they are not opposing election, but they are only fighting for their cause. They are talking about their participation. So election is something still, I should rather say, government has a big role, and the election commission.
Of course, and all eyes heading towards that election, but division on the ground, uncertainty after this verdict, something we will continue to monitor. Nasir, thank you ever so much for your time and insights.
Thank you too.
Let's now shift our focus to Saudi Arabia. A tragic incident struck the kingdom, claiming the lives of dozens of Indian Umrah pilgrims. A bus was travelling from Mecca to Medina when it collided with a diesel tanker earlier today. The impact reportedly set the bus on fire while most passengers were asleep, giving them little to no time to escape. At least 45 Indian pilgrims are dead.
हैदराबाद से एक काफिला 45 to 46 मेंबर का मतलब हैदराबाद से उम्रे के लिए गया हुआ था मक्का मुकर्रमा सऊदी अरबिया। मदीने मुनव्वरा पहुंचने से पहले 25 किलोमीटर पहले एक वाकया पेश आया, हादसा हुआ, बस जल चुकी है। ऐसी वीडियोस और फोटोस हम तक पहुंची। जैसे फोटोस पहुंची हम ट्रैवल एजेंट अल मक्का टूर्स एंड ट्रैवल्स के पास पहुंचे, इनसे बात की।
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep sadness over the incident. He said his thoughts are with the families who had lost their loved ones and prayed for the swift recovery of the injured. He added that the embassy in Riyadh and the consulate in Jeddah were providing all possible assistance and are in close contact with Saudi authorities. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also said full support is being provided to the families affected. He posted on X, saying he was deeply shocked by the accident and that the embassy in Riyadh and the consulate in Jeddah were giving the fullest support to affected Indians. He expressed condolences and prayed for the speedy recovery of those injured. The Consulate General of India in Jeddah announced that 24/7 control room had been set up in light of the accident. A team of consulate staff and Indian community volunteers was reportedly on the ground at hospitals and the accident site to provide assistance. Families are mourning the loss of their loved ones and are urging the government to bring back the bodies to India.
हम लोग के 7 मेंबर से टोटल 20 मेंबर से वो लोग गए। सो हमारे साड़ू के दोस्त वगैरह वो लोग भी थे। उसमें 7 जने हमारे फैमिली के हैं, हमारे ससुरे हैं, हमारे साड़ू है, साली है और बच्चा है उनका। हुकूमत से क्या चाह रहे हैं, जल्द से जल्द यहाँ जो जाने वाले कार्रवाई करके अगर लाना मुनासिब है तो लाने की कोशिश करिए यहाँ पे लाने की।
Rescue and firefighting teams are deployed to contain the fire and identify the victims. The death toll may rise as identification continues. The incident left dozens of Indian families in deep grief, with authorities in both countries working to confirm casualties and provide support. We will keep tracking this story as more information on the victims and the investigation emerges. Our final story is from India. Bengaluru promised Akon a night of nostalgia, neon lights and a crowd ready to belt out some early 2000 anthems. What the Senegalese-American star did not sign up for was public misbehaviour, courtesy of a few overly enthusiastic fans who mistook a concert for a tug-of-war match. A video from the singer's November 14th performance has gone viral for all the wrong reasons, triggering a wave of backlash and raising questions about crowd behaviour at large-scale events. In the video clip, Akon is seen performing his hit track while engaging with the VIP section. As Akon leans close to the barricade to greet fans, several concert-goers can be seen pulling his trousers, leaving him visibly uncomfortable and forcing him to adjust them mid-song repeatedly. Neither the singer nor his team have commented on the incident. The Bengaluru show was meant to be the high-voltage middle leg of Akon's India tour. It began in India's capital, New Delhi, on November the 9th and concluded in Mumbai on November the 16th. Social media users condemned the behaviour as harassment and shameful. One user remarked that basic public decorum had clearly taken the day off, while another quipped that civic sense might as well be banned in India. Some expressed deeper frustration. One wrote that he can't defend his country anymore. Another pointed out that Bengaluru is supposed to have some of the most mature concert crowds, yet moments like this made it look like nobody knows how to behave. The clip, viewed hundreds of thousands of times, has sparked a larger conversation about concert etiquette, artist safety, and the blurring lines between fan excitement and inappropriate conduct. A social media user who shared the video summed it up aptly with the caption, "Akon will remember this for a while." Just last year, in 2024, Akon performed at India's Cherry Blossom Festival, an event where he spoke warmly about his bond with the country. In an interview at the time, he said he considers India his second home, as he's often here working on multiple projects. The 51-year-old Grammy-winning artist has long enjoyed a special connection with Indian audiences. He famously made his Bollywood debut by lending his voice to the iconic tracks Chamak Chalo and Criminal in Shah Rukh Khan's Ra 1, songs that cemented his place in the country's pop culture memory. Akon's Bengaluru stop was supposed to celebrate nostalgia, not spark a nationwide debate on public behaviour. Yet here we are, discussing mayhem instead of musical performances. And if Bengaluru has taught us anything, it's this: enjoying a concert does not require grabbing the artist's clothes. Sometimes a cheer will do just fine. That's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spot.